computation of see, just before that, just go to the whiteboard and just write down the DFT analysis and synthesis equations. So the
Sir, your audio is breaking.
for
Your voice
0
is breaking.
less than or equal to k less than or equal to n minus 1. So this is your analysis equation. Just give me a second. Okay, just give me.
Yes, sir.
What about now? Is it okay?
Sir, it's okay.
Hello.
Yes, sir, it's visible and
Hello,
your
is this
audio is
okay?
clear.
Okay, so x of k you can write as sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of n w in raised to n k for 0 less than or equal to k less than or equal to n minus 1. So that being your sorry. So that is your analysis equation, and your synthesis equation would be x of n is equal to 1 by n sigma k equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of k w n raised to w n raised to minus n k for 0 less than n less than or equal to n minus 1. I hope my audio is okay. Hello?
Sir.
Lakshmi, okay.
Clear, sir.
Right. Thank you. In general, we have seen that x of n can be complex. X of n, you can in fact have a complex value for x of n. So which means to store x of n, you will require a real array and an imaginary array. So maybe I will mark the real array as something like this. This is your real array. So to store an endpoint sequence, you require two arrays, one being a real array and the second being the imaginary array. So I will also mark the addresses. So the addresses for the real array are 0. So this is also 0. This is the imaginary array. And it continues up to the last location being n minus 1. So n minus 1. N minus 1. So how many locations are there? So here you have n locations. Here also you have n locations. As in that this is what goes to the input of your FFT processor. So here you have your FFT processor. And at the output you require to have x of k. So this FFT processor, we will assume that you are only looking at radix to FFT. So this discussion is in fact general. You can have any radix FFT or even mixed radix FFT or even DFT. It doesn't make any difference. So at the output you will have x of k. So at the output you have x of k. Now I need you to tell me how many memory locations are required for this entire operation. So at the input you have x of n, and the output you have x of k. How many memory locations are required for this entire operation of calculation of the pass Fourier transform of x of n? I'll ask one of you. So Meenakshi, can you explain? Can you give me the answer? How many memory locations are required?
Sir, will it be 2n?
Right. Why is it 2n? Why is it 2n?
Because for each the real and imaginary part will need n separate locations individually.
So the answer is not actually complete because the FFT computation can be done. There is an important word. There is an important word. It can be done in place.
In place computation, so it can replace that same n locations.
The same array can be replaced. So, you have a real array for x of k, That's the real part of XOK, and the imaginary part of XOK is showed here. You just need 2 and memory locations. So in practice, so you can have a situation where in general you have your continuous time analog signal x of t, so that goes as input to an analog to digital converter. So here you have an A to D converter. So you can assume that you have this is an A to D converter, so you can assume that you have a parallel output. Let's say this is your bus indicating the value x of n. So this is x of n, right? So in general, this comes from a real world signal. So x of t could be, for example, it could come from a microphone. So this could come from a microphone. So someone is speaking. So this is the output of the microphone. So it's a voltage signal. So in general, x of t is a real signal. That is what you have when you have a real world signal. So its digital equivalent is also a real world signal. So this is also real world. So which means to store x of n, each sample of x of n could be something like this. So this is the real part. This could be something a plus j into b. But since there is no imaginary part, so you have maybe a plus j into 0. So this is a of n plus j into 0. So which means you don't require to store the imaginary part, or maybe you can do with n memory locations at the input. So this is not actually required because you are going to store 0 here. However, how many memory locations are required to complete the entire operation? Meenakshi, you can answer that again. How many memory locations will be required to complete the operation?
2n memory
Again,
locations.
you require 2n memory location because x of k is a complex valued sequence. Especially when a is real, x of k is generally a complex valued sequence. X of k is definitely a complex valued sequence if a is real and causal. So that you will see in the third body. So when a is real and causal, that definitely x of k is a complex valued sequence. So you will require 2n memory locations. But however, you see that this part is not used initially. The imaginary part of the memory location is not, imaginary part of the input signal is not used. So it means you are not initially using n memory locations. So that is an improper utilization of resources. So maybe if you can efficiently use the FFT algorithm in such a way that maybe if you can make use of this part also, then maybe the memory resources that are available with you can be properly utilized. This memory resources is very important. For example, you might want to implement your algorithm on an FPGA. So an FPGA will have so many computing resources. For example, you look at the number of configurable logic blocks, you look at the number of block memory, you look at the number of distributed memory that is available. So once you run out of the resources within the FPGA, then it means that you cannot implement your algorithm on the FPGA. So you'll have to look for a higher FPGA, or maybe you'll have to look at another FPGA to implement the remaining part of the circuit. So this could complicate things. So you will need to have a very proper utilization of the device resources. For example, once you generate the FPGA report, you get what is known as a device utilization summary. So if you say that the device utilization summary is 80%, it means that you have used up 80% of the resources. Say, for example, if the device utilization for block RAM is 80%, it means that you have used 80% of the resources. But if the device utilization summary is, let's say, 140%, it means that you will require 140%, that is 1.4 times the RAM, that is the memory that is available, block RAM that is available within the FPGA, which means you cannot implement that algorithm on the FPGA. You'll have to look at a better FPGA to implement your algorithm. So in general, your resources are at a premium, so you have to very carefully utilize your resources. So you have to look at algorithms. For example, in this particular case, you have to look at algorithms that make use of these unutilized memory location also. For example, we are looking at speech. So maybe if I look at stereophonic speech. So if I look at stereophonic speech, stereophonic means you have a left channel and a right channel. So I'm looking at stereophonic. So if you are looking at stereophonic speech, then you have a left channel and a right channel. So the left channel maybe you can call as XL of T, and the right channel you can call as XR of T. So this will give you a real signal, so that you can call as XL of N, and similarly you also have XR of N. Maybe somehow if you can combine XL of N and XR of N, so that you can utilize the code to the FPGA processor once to compute the DFT of both sequences simultaneously. So that would greatly simplify your greatly save your memory resources that are available. So in today's class, we will be looking at efficient utilization of the DSP hardware to implement the FFT computation of two endpoint sequences. That is, there are two endpoint sequences. We look at the sequence X1N and the X2N. Both of them are endpoint sequences simultaneously with one call to the FFT processor. Okay, so that is the first part that we will be discussing. So we have two endpoint sequences X1N and X2N. For example, X1N could represent the left channel of stereophonic sound, and X2N could represent the right channel of the stereophonic sound. And then you can compute X1K and X2K, but with only one call to the FFT processor, which means you save on time and you also save on the memory. So that is the first application that we will be discussing. The second application is when you have a two endpoint sequence. So you have a single sequence, but the length of the sequence is 2n. The length of the sequence is now 2n. So you have a 2n point sequence, and you implement the DFT of the 2n point sequence. So you have a 2n point sequence, and you implement the DFT of the 2n point sequence using just one call to the endpoint FFT processor. So the sequence is a 2n point real sequence. 2n point real sequence. So here you have a 2n point real sequence for which you attempt to find out the FFT of the two sequences simultaneously. So this is what we will be discussing today. So DFT algorithm is designed to perform complex additions and multiplications of inputs. That is, it can accept complex valued inputs. Just give me a second. Hello, sorry about that. So DFT algorithm is designed to perform the FFT computation for complex valued inputs, whereas the real world signals are real value. So therefore, you are not properly utilizing the full computational power of the FFT structure, as the registers or the imaginary values of the inputs are not used. So it is possible to use the registers for the imaginary values of the inputs also to compute. In the first application, you will be looking at DFT of two endpoint real valued sequences using one endpoint FFT processor in one pass of the algorithm. As we have seen for the example, when you require to compute the spectrum for the left and right stereophonic sound. And the second case is when you compute the DFT of a 2n point real valued sequence using just one call to the endpoint FFT processor. So therefore, in the hardware implementation, you are properly utilizing the CPU. So let us see how this can be done. So initially, we look at the efficient computation of DFT of two real endpoint sequences. So let X1N and X2N be the two endpoint real sequences. And now we will define a complex sequence X of n as X of n is equal to X1N plus J X2N for 0 less than n less than equal to n minus n. So you have this complex sequence X of n, also an endpoint sequence. So therefore, its DFT from the linearity property would be X of k is equal to X1k plus J X2k. And since from this equation, you can write x1n is equal to x of n plus x star of n, that is its conjugate, by 2. And x2 of n is equal to x of n minus x star of n by 2j. Then you can therefore write its x1k, that is its spectrum, as x1k is equal to x of k plus x star of minus k modulo n by 2. From the symmetry property, you know that x star of n has got a DFT of x star of minus k modulo n. How do you get x star of minus k modulo n? You just check whether you remember all those. Lakshmi, can you explain how do you get x star of minus k modulo n?
Okay, x star minus k modular n. So that is like the.
Right.
Sir, I don't remember.
Just think of this sequence as one cycle of a periodic sequence. See, all DFT properties are one cycle of the DFS property. So you can think of a periodic sequence.
So when we divide k and the remainder.
So minus k modulo n indicates the remainder. So how do you get minus k modulo n? So that is actually a circular reflection. You remember that? You x of minus k modulo n. I'm not looking at x star of minus k modulo n. I'm looking at x of minus k modulo n. How can I get x of minus k modulo n? So you have your x of k, and from that, let us go back to our whiteboard and try to explain this using an example. Because this is important. Let me look at an x of k. I'll write an 8-point sequence as an example. X of k is equal to 1. So this is my 0 index. Let's say 1, 4, 6, 4, 0, 0, then 1, 2. So let this be your sequence. 1, 4, 6, 4, 0, 0, 1, 2. So how can I circularly reflect this sequence? So this is one cycle of a periodic sequence. 1, 4, 6, 4, 0, 0, 1, 2. Then again you have 1, 4, 6, 4, 0, 0, 1, 2, etc. Like this it goes. So this is your periodic sequence, and you look at one cycle of this. So you can call this as x. This would be x tilde of k. So x tilde of k. This is x tilde of k. So therefore, what will be x tilde of minus k? Which is nothing but x tilde of, sorry, this is nothing but x of minus k modulo n. X tilde of minus k, from definition of your modulo operator, x tilde of minus k is x of minus k modulo n, right, from definition. So that would be, what would be x tilde of minus k? That would be, I have to reflect this, right? So this would be 1. What would be the next value? This would be 4. I reflect this. 6, 4, 0, 0, 1, 2, 1. So this sequence would be 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 6, 4, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 6, 4, 1. Right. So this is a sequence. This is a reflected sequence. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 6, 4, 1. So one cycle of that you can write as 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 6, 4, 1. So this is x tilde of minus k modulo n for 0 less than or equal to k less than or equal to n minus m. So I will rub off the rest. Now how did I get this expression? How did I get this sequence? This is x tilde of x. This is x of minus k modulo n for 0 less than or equal to k less than or equal to n minus 1. How did I get this? I get this by a process known as circular reflection. So for that, what I do is I write my first sample like this. Then I take my last sample and write it as my second sample. Take the last return sample, write it as my third sample, and go on so that my so this is one. Then so that this sample. So I have written one more. So this will be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0. So I have missed out on a 4. So this should be 4. 1, 2, 1, 0, 0. This should be 4, 6, 4. So the way I write the sequence is like this. I write my first sample. I take my last sample and write it as a second sample. Take the last button sample and write it as my third sample, and so on. So that my second sample becomes my last sample. Now, is this clear? Is this operation clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, how will I calculate x tilde of minus k modulo in the conjugate? I have to take conjugate of all the values, right? I only need to take the conjugate of all the values. So since all these values are real, the conjugate is also the same value here for this particular extent. So from our symmetry property, x1n, which is equal to x of n plus x star of n by 2, will have a DFT given by x1k is equal to x of k plus x star of minus k modulo n by 2. How will I get x star of minus k modulo n? Find x of k, circularly reflect x of k, and then take its conjugate. Right? Find x of k, circularly reflect x of k, and then take its conjugate. So add x of k and x star of minus k modulo n and divide the sum by 2. And how will I get x2 of k? x2 of k would be x of k minus x star of minus k modulo n by 2g. So it's very easily done. So now, which means you only need to compute x of k. So you form x of n from x1n and x2 of n in this form. Then compute x of k, which is by using your FFT processor. And then compute x1k like this, compute x2k like this. Right? So now, can you tell me how many total complex multiplications are required to compute x1k and x2k? Can someone tell me how many total complex multiplications are required to compute x1k and x2k? First of all, you can tell me how many complex multiplications are required to compute x of k. Assume that you are given x of n. FFT properties. If you are given x of n and you are required to compute the DFT of x of n, let us say that n is a power of 2. So you can use any of the radix 2 FFT algorithms, that is either DIT FFT or DIF FFT. How many complex multiplications are required? Arvind Palat, if you are there in the class, can you answer this?
Hello, sir.
Arvind, can you answer how many multiplications, how many complex multiplications are required to compute an endpoint FFT? Radix 2.
Is it n by 2?
N by 2. N by 2. N by 2. How many stages are there? For a FFT processor, how many stages are there?
Log n to the base 2.
Log n to the base 2. So how many multiplications are there per stage?
So there will be n by 2 multiplication per stage.
stage into log n to the base 2 total number of stages. So n by 2 log n to the base 2 would be the total number of multiplications, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you are given x of n, computing x of k will require n by 2 log n to the base 2. Right. So now,
Yes, sir.
if you are given x1n and x2n, this process does not require any arithmetic operation, because you see that x1n goes into a real array, x2n goes into an imaginary array. So this does not require any addition or a multiplication, because you are not actually adding anything. They remain in the real array and the imaginary array. So here you do not require any additional operation. For to compute x of k, how many complex multiplications are required? You see that it's equal to n by 2 log n to the base 2. And now you are given x of k. To compute x1k from x of k, how many multiplications are required? Do you have any multiplications in this equation? Arvind, you can continue. Do
No,
you have any
sir.
multiplication in this equation? There are no multiplications. So do you have any multiplications here?
No.
There are no multiplications. Again, there are no multiplications. Okay, so what is therefore the total number of complex multiplications required to compute x1k and x2k? Please tell me. You are saying that to compute this, you require n by 2 log n to the base 2. To compute this, you require 0 multiplications. To compute this, you have 0 multiplications. Now, therefore, to compute x1k and x2k, how many total number of complex multiplications are required? That is when x1n and x2n are n-point real sequences. To compute x1k and x2k, how many total complex multiplications are required? So that would be n by 2 log n to the
N
base
by
2
2
plus
log n.
0 plus 0. So that is equal to n by 2 log n to the base 2, right? Now, Arvind, you can also tell me how many complex additions are required. How many complex additions are required? To
N
compute x
log
of
n.
k, you require n log n to the base 2. Now, to compute this, how many additions are required? How many additions are required? How many samples are there in x of k? You have n
N
samples.
samples.
Here also you have n samples. So how many total additions are required? You require n complex additions, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So you require n complex additions. This will mean that for this also you will require n complex additions. So this will mean that you will require in total n log n to the base 2 plus n. That is 2n plus n log n to the base 2 number of complex additions. Now, is this understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So thus by performing a single DFT of the complex valued sequence x of n, we have obtained the DFT of the real valued sequences x1n and x2n with only 2n complex additions more. You don't require any further complex multiplication. So the complexity is just that of the computation of an n-point DFT. So it's that simple. So if you are given that the two n-point sequences are real, then you can compute the DFT of the two real n-point sequences simultaneously using just one call to the FFT processor. You have used the FFT processor only once. So what is the advantage there? The advantage is that you are saving on the available precious resource called the memory. Precious resource called the memory. That is being optimally utilized. Okay. Now we will also look at the second case. The second case is when you have a 2n-point real sequence. So now this is also approached in a similar manner. So g of n, let g of n be a 2n-point real sequence. Now let us define x1 of n as g of 2n. What is g of 2n? Meenakshi, what is g of 2n?
Sir, the even
Right.
components.
So okay. So and let us define x2 of n as g of 2n plus 1. What is g of 2n plus 1?
Will be the odd components.
Odd component. So where did we see this before? We are splitting the sequence into an even component and odd component. Where have we seen this before? When we have started our discussions on decimation time FFT, we had talked about the decimation of the input sequence into an even sequence and an odd sequence. So now you can define the sequence x1n as the even component of g of n and x2n as the odd component of g of n. And now we will define a new complex sequence x of n such that x of n is equal to x1n plus j x2n. So now x1n is an endpoint sequence because it has half the length of g of n. x2n is an endpoint sequence, so therefore x of n will also be an endpoint sequence. So x of n is equal to x1n plus j x2n for 0 less than n less than n minus 1. So let us take the DFT, apply the linearity property that will give x1k, x of k is equal to x1k plus j x2k. And now you have seen that x1k from the previous expression, you have seen x1k is equal to x of k plus x star of minus k modulo n by 2, and x2k is equal to x of k minus x star of minus k modulo n by 2j. So what does it mean? It means that g of 2n has got an endpoint DFT given by x1k, which is the DFT of the even part of g of n, and g of 2n plus 1 has got an endpoint DFT given by x2k, which is the DFT of odd part of g of n. Okay, so what we have done here is the 2n point real sequence g of n has been split into an even sequence and an odd sequence, and you have found out the DFT of the even sequence and you have found out the DFT of the odd sequence. So let me see how many of you can answer this. How will I proceed further? I actually require the DFT of g of n, which is a 2n point DFT. But now I have the DFT of the even part of g of n and the DFT of the odd part of g of n. Now let me see if any one of you can give me a hint. How can we proceed further? How can we arrive at g of k? Let us see if anyone can answer. Roshan, can you make a guess?
Sir, to combine the two, combine ചെയ്യാനാണോ?
Combine ചെയ്യാം. അങ്ങനെ combine ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് പറ്റില്ല. That's why combine ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്തൊരു കാര്യം. You are given that g of n is a 2n point real sequence. So that will have a 2n point DFT. Is that understood? So g of
Yes.
n will have a DFT g of k, which is a 2n point DFT. Now you have an endpoint DFT, which is the DFT of the even part of g of n. And then you have an endpoint DFT, which is the DFT of the odd part of g of n, which are x1k and x2k. So they are only endpoint sequences. You have seen something like this before. When we discussed decimation in time FFT, what did we do there? Just remember the first part of your DIT FFT angle. What did we do there? Meenakshi, can you? Okay. Roshan, please continue. We split the sequence into an even component and an
Even
odd
component and the odd component.
And an odd component. Then we found out the DFT of the even component. And then we found out the DFT of the odd component. And then we had a method to combine the DFT of the even component and the DFT of the odd component to find out the total DFT. Do you remember that?
The equation.
You have some equation now. Do you remember how we arrived at that? So now we'll proceed further.
K plus Wn raised to
Yes,
k.
exactly. So instead of Wn, we will have W2, and that's it.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So to compute the 2n point DFT of the sequence g of n from the DFTs of its even and odd part, we will proceed as per the first stage of the DIT FFT algorithm. So the 2n point DFT can be written in this one. So I will written out all the other calculations which you might not have in the textbook because this is actually not required. It's easily understood. So g of k can be written as sigma n equal to 0 to 2n minus n g of n w2n raised to nk for 0 less than or equal to k less than or equal to 2n minus 1. We will split this into an even part and an odd part like this. So that is sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1 g of 2n w2n raised to 2nk w2n raised to 2nk. Why? Because it's an even part. So this is 2nk and this is g of 2n plus 1 w2n raised to 2n plus 1k. Now since you have this as x1n and this as x2n, and we will take w2n raised to k outside. So this is w2n raised to k. and W2n raised to 2nk is actually Wn raised to nk. So that you can simplify. W2n raised to 2nk, if you simplify that, you will get it as Wn raised to nk. So this is g of k is equal to sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1, x1n Wn raised to nk plus W2n raised to k into sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1, x2n Wn raised to nk. So this is your x1k, and the second part is your, this summation is your x2k. So g of k you can write as x1k plus W2n raised to k into x2k for 0 less than k less than or equal to n minus 1. Why do you write it as 0 less than k less than n minus 1? Because x1k has got n point periodicity and x2k has got n point periodicity. So we can say, for example, if n is equal to 8, then 2n would be 16. So all these samples from G0 to G7 you can find out here in this expression. Right? From 0 to n minus 1 you can compute because n was equal to 8. But you know that the original sequence had 16 samples. So you are required to find out the samples from 8 to 15 as well. So the higher samples g of k plus n can be founded as x1 of k plus n. We will just substitute this x1 k plus n plus W2n raised to k plus n x2 of k plus n. Now you see that x1k has got an n point periodicity. So x1k plus n is equal to x1k and x2k plus n is equal to x2k. So therefore you can write g of k plus n is equal to x1k. So this is just x1k. The second is W2n raised to k plus n. So that is W2n raised to k into W2n raised to n. And you had seen previously that W2n raised to n would be, let us calculate that for a second, e raised to minus j 2 pi by 2n into n. So e raised to minus j 2 pi by 2n into n. You cancel n and then outside, and this reduces to e raised to minus j pi, which is equal to minus 1. So that is minus W2n raised to k into x2k. So gk plus n is equal to x1k minus W2n raised to k into x2k. Right? So we will summarize here. So therefore, you can write g of k is equal to x1k plus W2n raised to k into x2k, and g of k plus 1n is equal to x1k minus W2n raised to k into x2k for 0 less than k less than n minus 1. So this is how you find out all the samples. Now you can ask before, Arvind, I will ask you the same question. How many complex multiplications are required? How many complex multiplications are required in total? We started by splitting the sequence into an even sequence and an odd sequence. Is that clear, Arvind?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So you form your complex sequence here, and then you find x of k, and from this you can find out x1k and x2k. So you see that you don't require any complex multiplications here. So we look at whether you require any further complex multiplications. To find g of k, you require x1k plus W2n raised to k is a complex entity, x2k is a complex entity. So you have n complex multiplications to compute this figure. You see, you have n complex multiplications here. And here also, likewise, you require n complex
And complex
multiplication.
multiplication.
So total you require 2n complex
2n
multiplications and 2n complex additions in addition to this, right? So this is how you compute the DFT of a 2n pointer real sequence. So now with this we have completed our discussion on the second module. Second module we have completed each and every point that is there to be discussed. In fact, there is a small section that remains in the first module to be discussed, which we will look into after discussing a few tutorial questions. Okay. Is there anything remaining to discuss in the second module? Let's see that. Okay, so we have seen computation of DFT, Radix2, DIT, and DIF algorithms. We have seen computation of IDFT using Radix2 FFT algorithms, and we also have seen efficient computation of the DFT of 2 real point sequence and a 2n point real sequence. Okay, so let us start with very simple problems, and then we will progressively work on to more complexity problems to solve. Okay, so let us start with a very simple question. Now let us consider a sequence. So I hope you have pen and paper with you. Everyone, Lakshmi, please ensure that you have pen, paper, and a calculator with you from this point onwards.
Okay, sir.
You will require pen, paper, and a
Yes,
scientific calculator. So please ensure that. So let us start with a very simple question. X of n is equal to 1, 1, minus 1, minus 1, then minus 1, 1, 1, minus 1. So how many samples are there? See how many samples are there?
8.
Verify that there are 8 samples. Okay, 1, 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, 1, 1, minus 1. Okay. Now, determine the DFT of x of n. The question is to determine the DFT of x of n, which is x of k, using DIT FFT algorithm. Using DIT FFT algorithm. DIT FFT algorithm. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay, so are we seeing the whiteboard? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let us see how this can be done. Let us go back to the PowerPoint presentation, which where we had derived the DIT FFT structure. Okay, so this is your DIT FFT structure. So remember that what you initially did was to split the sequence into an even part and an odd part, right? You initially split the sequence into an even part and then an odd part. And then you did an n by 2 point DFT. Okay. So you know the entire structure here. You have the entire structure. So one way to answer this question would be to write down what is the input sequence here. So you know what is x of 0. So from our equation, what is x of 0? So what? So from this question, so that was dictated to you. What is x of 0? X of 0 is equal to 1. 1. What is x of 4? X of 4?
Minus 1.
Minus 1. And likewise, you can write down all the values, x of 2, etc. And what is n? N
8.
is equal to 8. So this would be W8 raised to 0. So everything is equal to 1. So this is W8 raised to 2. This is W8 raised to 1, 2, 3. Right? And then you can just follow the signal flow graph from the beginning to the end. So that should give you x of 0 to x of 1. So that is one way to do it. So if you are required to write down the values at all the nodes, then this is the only way to do it. So sometimes for the examination, you might be asked to write down the value, that's intermediate value after each stage of the computation. There are 3 stages of computation. So you are required to write the value after the first stage and write the value after the second stage and then write the value at the end. So that's the final value, which is in the normal order. So then this is probably the only way to do it. So you have to follow the structure from the input to the output. So that is one way to do it. But see, DFT, DSP, the subject itself, why do you have DSP in the first place? You study DSP too, so that you can use numerical algorithms, which you can write as programs. So which means you can use a digital computing hardware. So your digital signal processing algorithms are not meant to be solved on paper. Do you understand what I say? The algorithms are actually designed to be written as a program, and it easily renders itself to renders itself to programs or to hardware. So you can implement them as either programs or as hardware, but they are rarely meant to be done on paper. So, so if you have to follow the structure from the input to the output, then it will also test your accuracy. So you should not make any error when you move from this phone number to this one. So that will require lots of careful calculation. Maybe that is why you people find DSP very somewhat tedious. In fact, practicing DSP engineers do not do this using pen and paper. So let us anyhow try to look at another way to simplify this question. But that is, you can attempt this if you are not attempting to solve this using, not attempting to compute all the intermediate values. So if you just need to calculate the final value, so what you can probably do is, let us start with the initial separation of the two sequences into an even sequence and an odd sequence. So what is the even sequence? Can someone tell me what is the even sequence? What is the even sequence?
Sir, 1 minus 1.
Right. 1 minus 1,
Minus 1.
1 minus 1. So the even sequence would be 1 minus 1, 1
Minus 1.
minus 1. So 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1. So that would be your even sequence. So we'll take a transpose of this because you have to write this as a column vector. And what about the odd sequence? Odd sequence is also the same, right? 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1. Right? Is that clear? Odd sequence is 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1. What was the even sequence? 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1 minus 1, 1. What is the even
That's
sequence?
2 minus 1, like 1
Okay,
minus
so this
1
is 1 minus 1
1.
minus 1 1. So this
Yes.
is 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. Minus 1 1. Okay. Now, so this is the first step. So the even sequence goes as input to a n by 2 point FFT processor, and the odd sequence goes as input to an n by 2 point FFT processor. And then you have to combine this. And this is how you combine. So you have something like this. Likewise, you have something here. And you know this is equal to, so you have this W raised to k. So G of k plus W raised to k into H of k. This is what we have. G of k plus W raised to k into H of k, where G of k was the DFT of the even component and H of k was the DFT of the odd component. And you see that for this particular example, n by 2 is equal to 4, right? N is equal to 8, therefore n by 2 is equal to 4. So you are required to complete 4-point DFTs to compute the even sequence and 4-point DFTs to compute the odd sequence. So you know how to compute the 4-point DFTs. So the 4-point DFTs are easily done by noting that you only need to represent this as a matrix. So the 4-point DFTs can be computed by that is, you can write G of 0, G of 1, G of 2, and G of 3. This is my 4-point DFT. This is the DFT of the even sequence. So this you can compute as equal to 1, 1, 1, 1. So you know what is the 4-point DFT? Second row would be 1, minus 1, 1. Sorry, 1 minus J, minus 1, 1. And third row would be 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1. And the last row would be 1, J, minus 1, minus A, which we have seen. Do you remember this? We have seen the DFT equation for the 4-point DFT, and we had drawn also the 4-point butterfly. And you multiply, use this to multiply. What was the input sequence? What was the sequence? 1, minus 1, minus 1.
Sir, that second row.
So
I
here,
think
second
plus
row, there
J.
is an error. The last one will be plus J, right? So it's my mistake. So this is J. Right.
So that's plus J, I think.
This is plus J. This is 1 minus J, minus 1 plus J. This is plus J, right?
Yes. Sir, I think that other J is also plus.
The last one is 1 plus J minus 1 minus J.
Minus
The
J.
last one, minus J. This is correct. The first row is 1, 1, 1, 1. Second row is 1 minus J minus 1 plus J.
Sir, I wrote it as plus J, like the second row J, both J's is plus.
But then your calculation would be wrong. This is 1 minus E. Don't you see why this is 1 minus E? Because this would be W4 raised to 1. W4.
Sir, so when you take cos 2 pi, it will be.
Right. W4 is, this W4 is equal to, W4 is e raised to minus j 2 pi by 4, which is e raised to minus j pi by 2, which is equal to cos pi by 2, which is 0, minus j sin pi by 2. What is j sin pi by 2? Which is equal to 1, which is equal to minus j.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So this is minus j. So minus a whole squared is minus 1. Minus a whole cube is j. This is minus a the whole squared, minus a the whole raised to 4, minus a the whole raised to 6. This is minus a the whole cube, minus a the whole raised to 6, and minus a the whole raised to 9. So that is why you have this. Is it understood? So this will multiply my number 1 minus 1 minus 1. Now you have to evaluate this. Find what is his answer. Please evaluate this. Please evaluate this. So what would be the first value? What would be g of 0? G of 0 definitely it's the sum of all the values. 1 into 1 plus 1 into minus 1 plus 1 into minus 1 plus 1 into 1. What is g of 0 therefore equal to? What is g of 0 equal to?
0.
0. So g of 0 is equal to 0. So afterwards we will see a very important observation. G of 0 is equal to 0. What is g of 1? What is g of 1?
2 plus 2j.
G of 1 is 2 plus 2j. Right, this is 2 plus j into 2. And what about the next one? That's again 0, right?
Sir, 0.
And the last one is 2 minus j2. So later we will think of an easy way to write the rest. Once you compute up to this, then you will be able to write the rest. So we will see some properties which you can make use of. So 0, that is when your input signal is real. We will see certain observations that will help you to write down the values very fast. So first value will be 0. The next will be 2 plus j2. You have to find out the next value, and you will see that this will be the conjugate of this one. So that we can make use of later. So now let us make the calculations at least initially, and then we will use some shortcut. Likewise, I will ask you to find out what is h of 0. So this is g of 0. So what is h? So find out what is h of 0, h of 1, h of 2, h of 3. Find this value. And you have to tell me what are the values. Can you tell me what are the values? So for that,
Sir, h of 0, 0.
h of 0 equals 0. Then, what's the next value? That is 0. What is the next
That
value?
is
That's also 0, right?
0. Yeah.
What is the next value? 4. And that will be sum of all the values. H of 2 would be sum of all the values. See, 1 into 1 plus 1 into minus 1 into minus 1, that's 1.
0.
Plus 1 into 1 plus, so that will be, and the last one would be 0.
0.
So again, you see that if you have this value, you have its conjugate here. So since this is real, you have its conjugate, which is also real. So that's one easy way to write. So you need to calculate up to this, then you can write the remaining values. So this is h. Okay. So now what is to be done? You have both g and h with you. So what is to be done now?
Sir, use that equation W.
Right.
You have
Let
get
us use the
first.
equation. Let us use the equation. So the equation, what does the equation tell you? The equation states that we can write x of 0 is equal to x of 0. So x of 0 or x of k, we can write x of k is equal to what? G of k plus Wn raised to k into h of k, right? And so this is for 0 less than k less than equal to n by 2 minus 1, and for x of k plus n would be, what is x of k plus n? That's equal to g of k minus w raised to k into h of k, right? So let us use these equations. So now tell me what is the value for x of 0. What is the value for x of 0?
0.
X of 0 would be 0, right? What is x of 1? So x of 1, you have to write what is W8 raised to. You have to write in terms of a W8. X of 1 is equal to, what is x of 1? X of 1 would be, what is the second term here? 2 plus j2 plus W8 raised to k into h of 2 is 0, right? So what is x of 1? X of 1 would be 2 plus j into 2, right? Is it understood?
Yes, sir.
What is x of 2? X of 2 is, what is x of 2?
Sir, 0.
No, x of 2
As
would
a
be
0 plus 4 into W8 raised to 2.
W8 raised to
2.
2. So you have to find out what is W8 raised to 2. What is
So
W8 raised to 2? You see that that's equal to W8 raised to 2 is e raised to minus j2 pi by 8 the whole square. So that is e raised to minus j4 pi by 8 or e raised to minus j pi by 2, which is equal to minus j. So minus j into 4, right? X of 2 is minus j4. And now x of 3 would be, so I'll write out the values on which we can compute. So 2 minus j2. X of 4, again you find that x of 4 is equal to 0. So in this particular case, it happens to be 0. X of 5, from x of 5 onwards, you can write the value. So x of 5 will be the complex conjugate of 2 minus j2, since x of n is a real valued signal. We can compute and find out. So x of 5 would be 2 into j2. X of 6 would be complex conjugate of minus j4, which is plus j4. And x of 7 is the complex conjugate of 2 plus j2, which is equal to 2 minus j2. So you will find out the values like this. So initially, at least, I require you to compute all the values numerically. So I request you to do this as a homework at home. Practice until you can complete this question, this kind of question in 15 minutes. Okay. So practice, so which means that you have to learn the structure. You have to remember the structure by heart. And then if you are asked to find out the values at the intermediate points, then probably you will be, you will have to, definitely you will have to follow the signal flow graph from the beginning to the end. Sometimes certain question paper setters can ask you to find out the values at the intermediate stage. I personally do not believe that this would be the right way to test your knowledge in DSP, but if you find a question like this, then there is no other option but to follow the signal flow graph from the input to the output. So if you need to find out all the values at all the intermediate points, then you have to follow the signal flow graph. Otherwise, if you have an 8-point FFT to be computed, split the sequence into even and odd. Split the sequence into even and odd. Compute the DFT of the, that's compute the 4-point DFT of the even sequence. Compute the 4-point DFT of the odd sequence. And then you compute the total DFT using this equation. So this you can very easily find. And there is a very important property that you can make use of, which is that the zeroth sample, this would be the n-1th sample, and the n/2th sample is, this is your n/2th sample, n/2th sample. So there are certain properties for the 0th sample and the n/2th sample. So let us see what is the property for the n/2th sample and the 0th sample. So that the value for n be anything. N can be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. Any value. So you see that you have seen that DFT matrix for representation of signals. So the first x of 0, the first sample x of 0 is computed as the multiplication of the first row. The first row is definitely all ones. So 1, 1, 1, etc., etc., etc. to 1. So I'll just write on the first row, multiply this by the input sequence. So this is x of 0 up to x of n-1. So what would be capital X of 0 therefore? Arvind?
Yes, sir.
What will be capital X of 0 therefore?
It will be x of 0 plus x of 1 plus
x of 0 equal to x of 0 plus x of 1 plus
x of
etc.
1
to
plus x of n minus
x
1.
of n minus 1. So that's a very important observation. So the first sample, which is the DC component of the spectrum, the DC component of x of n, capital X of 0 indicates the DC component because 0 represents 0 hertz. 0 hertz is DC component. So the DC component of the signal is found out by adding all the samples of the signal, right? Is that understood? And
Yes, sir.
let us write down what is x of n by 2. What would be x of n by 2? So you have several values here. So you have x of n by 2. So this will be x of n minus 1. What would be x of n by 2? So let us write the expression for x of n by 2 from our analysis equation. So which is sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of n into w n raised to nk would be n into n by 2. Okay, can you tell me what is Wn raised to n by 2? What is Wn raised to n by 2? Wn raised to n by 2 would be e raised to minus j 2 pi by n raised to n by 2. We cancel n and n and 2 and 2. So that is e raised to minus j 2 pi, e raised to minus j pi, which is equal to minus 1. Okay. So I have this particular row. So that the first element would be minus 1 raised to 0. What is minus 1 raised to 0? That is 1. What about the second element? That is minus 1 raised to 1. What's the second element? Minus 1. Third element is minus 1 square, which is equal to 1. Fourth element is minus 1 the whole cube, which is equal to minus 1. Fifth element is minus 1 the whole raised to 4, which is equal to 1. So like this it goes, right? So this row would be 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, etc. So Arvind or Arjun Vishnu, can you tell me what is x of n by 2? Arjun, you are there in the class, right? So Arjun?
Yes, sir.
Arjun, can you tell me what is x of n by 2 therefore? That would be x of 0 plus minus 1 into x of 1.
Plus
Okay.
minus 1 x of 1
Plus x of 2 minus x of 3 plus x of 4 minus x of 5, etc. Right? Okay, so again,
Yes,
that's an interesting observation. So so this we can write as x of 0 minus x of 1 plus x of 2 minus x of 3 plus etc. So depends on what is n. N is even or odd. So I'm not going to write the last sample there. So look at x of 0. X of 0, if you add all the values, that will get as 0. Now x of 4 is x of 8 by 2. That is x of n by 2. So that would be 1 minus 1 plus minus 1 minus minus 1 plus minus 1 minus 1 plus 1 minus minus 1. So if you add, if you compute all these values, then you see that it's equal to 0. So that's why you have this as 0. So I'll give you an easy way to write down the DFT expressions if your input sequence is real, that is. So again, that is only when the input sequence is real. Only when the input sequence is real. That is, if the input sequence is real, only then you can use this. So when the input sequence is real, that is when x of n is real, So again, I am emphasizing this. This is due to a certain symmetry property of XFN, which we will discuss in the next class. So we'll not discuss that now. So X of k can be computed very easily. The first would be the sum of all the samples, right? This would be the sum of all the samples. X of k would be sum of all the samples, which you get here. The second sample you compute, third sample you compute, until you go up to x of n by 2. So this would be the first sample, x of 0. So I will write x of 1. For this particular case, I will write x of 2, x of 3, x of 4. So even without computing the DFT, even without writing the DFT expression, you will be able to write down what is x of 0 and x of 4 for any sequence. X of 0 would be the sum of all the samples. X of 4 would be first sample minus second sample plus third sample minus fourth sample, etc. You compute the intermediate samples up to x of n by 2. Then see what is x of 5. You will see that x of 5, when the input sequence is a real sequence, is x star of 3. X star of 3. For this example, you see x of 5 is 2 plus j2, which is the conjugate of 2 minus j2, x star of 3. Then x of 6 would be x of 2 star, and x of 7 would be x of 1 star. So that you can apply for the case when the input sequence is real. Only when the input sequence is real. See, x of 0, x of 1, x of 2, x of 3, x of 4, x of 3 star, x of 2 star, x of 1 star. So you have reduced your computational effort here. Therefore, you only need to find out the values up to x of 4 when in the input sequence is real. So if the input sequence is not real, then you have to write out everything. So if the input sequence is real, use this observation to see that x of 0 up to x of 4 only need to be computed. X of 0 you can easily compute by adding up. X of 4 you compute the values as the first sample minus second sample plus third sample minus fourth sample, etc. Compute the intermediate values. Then you look at a reflection, but that reflection is a complex conjugate reflection. So x of 4, now the next sample would be x of 3 star, the next sample would be x of 2 star, and the next sample would be x of 1 star. So that's how in general you can compute. Okay, so that way we have computed the DFT of the sequence using the decimation in time FFT algorithm. So now I will ask you to do this using decimation frequency FFT algorithm. We will stop our class after seeing how to compute the DIF FFT also. So again, that is computed in a similar manner. Let us compute this using DIF FFT. Earlier we had done using DIT FFT. So let us see how you can compute this using DIF FFT. So how will you compute this using DIF FFT? What would be the process by which you compute DIF FFT? What is the initial process? What do you do in DIF FFT? So let us look at the DIF FFT flow graph. This is the DIF FFT flow graph. This is the first stage of the DIF FFT flow graph. So if your question is an 8-point FFT, then you only need to approach like this. But again, if you are asked to find out what are the intermediate values, then this is the only way in which probably you will be able to compute all the intermediate values. Otherwise, you can use this structure. For that, you see that the even samples of the FFT of the output samples can be found by the 4-point DFT of what? 4-point DFT of G of n, which is obtained by adding the second half of the input sequence to the first half, right? So add the second half of the input sequence to the first half. Second half of the input sequence to the first half, and then find the 4-point DFT of this sequence. Now, what about this? For the even samples of the DIF FFT, for the even samples of the output spectrum, subtract from the first half the second half. That is, you subtract X, so you find out like this, you find out the values as X of 0 minus X of 4, X of 1 minus X of 5, X of 2 minus X of 6, and X of 3 minus X of 7, and multiply this by Wn raised to n, so which is Wn raised to 0, Wn raised to 1, Wn raised to 2, Wn raised to 3, and then compute the n by 2 by dt. So I will just illustrate that also on the whiteboard. So let us add the first half of the sequence to the second half. So I will call that as G of n. So G of n is the 4-point sequence found by adding the first half to the second half. So where does the second half start? Second half starts here. So 1 plus minus 1 is equal to 0, right? First half is up to here. So I will mark this as the first half. This is the first half, and this is the second half. So 1 plus minus 1 is 0. Second is 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. The third is, what is the third sample? Lakshmi, what is the third sample?
0,
0. And what is the next
minus
sample?
2.
And
Minus
2. Very good. Minus 2, minus 2, 0, 2, 0, minus
0, 2, 0, minus 2.
0, 2, 0, 0, minus 2. And what about the sample H of n? We will have to compute H of n first, and then we will do H of n into Wn raised to n. So we have to compute then H of n into Wn raised to n. So we will do this first. What is H of n? H of n is, no, or we will do this here itself. We will do this in a single step. H of n is 1 minus minus 1.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that is 2 into W8 raised to 0. Right? 2 into W8 raised to 0. What is the next sample?
0.
That is 0. Next sample will be 0. What would be the next one? Minus 2.
Minus 1. Minus 2.
Minus 2 into W8 raised to 2. W8 raised to 2. And what about the last one? That would be again 0.
That is
right?
0.
0. So since the values are like this greatly simplifies the calculation. So 2 into W8 raised to 0 is equal to 2, 0. And now we have to find what is W8 raised to 2. W8 raised to 2, as you have seen before, is equal to minus j. So that is 2j, 2, 0, 2j, and the last one is 0. We'll write this as j2 because that's our standard representation. We'll write the imaginary term first. We'll write j first and then 2. 2, 0, j2, and then 0. Okay. So then you have to find out the 4-point DFT of the sequence. The 4-point DFT of the sequence, you have to compute the 4-point DFT of the sequence, and you will see that. This I will leave it to you. You can work this out as a homework. You can compute G of k is as equal to, you should be getting this answer, 0 minus j into 4, then 0, then you have plus j into 4. So once you have computed this, so once you have computed 0 minus j4, 0, then you can write down the last value, which is the conjugate of this. Because your sequence is a real sequence. Likewise, you can write what is h of k. H of k would be equal to, you will see h of k is equal to 2 plus j2. Then next one would be 2 minus j2. Next would be 2 plus j2. And the last value would be 2 minus j2. So these are the values. Okay, so you have g of k and h of k. So how will you write what is x of k? Remember that g of k are the even samples of x of k. So the first sample would be, what would be the first sample? The first sample would be 0. The next sample would be 2 plus j2. Because that's the first odd sample. The next sample would be minus j4. The next sample would be 2 minus j2. The next sample would be 0. The next sample would be 2 plus j2. The next sample would be j4. And the last sample would be 2 minus j2. Is it understood? Because we have now interspersed the odd components within the even components. This is x of 0, this is x of 1, because these are the even samples, x of 0, x of 2, x of 4, x of 6. And these are your odd samples, x of 1, x of 3, x of 5, and x of 7. So I request you to go through both the problems once again, and you try to solve this by yourselves once again, and then you can maybe look at random valued inputs. Have you installed Octave in your PCs? In your laptops?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Has Kalpana asked you to follow Octave or anything else? Or Octave or Scilab? What are you following now?
Sir, Octave only.
She specifically asked you to compute using Octave.
So we were introduced to Octave like from the beginning. So like
Okay,
she explains the code and all on Octave only, like while taking class also.
Okay.
Yeah, used to.
So do you actually require explaining the code in Octave, or you can just sit in front of Octave and learn? It's that simple. So Octave has the disadvantage that, in fact, I used to conduct the DSP labs in Octave because, but however, later we found out that Octave has a disadvantage that you don't have what is known as this graphical programming interface in Octave. In MATLAB, that part, this graphical programming